Hello, once again. I am Doc Rotten. This is Horror News Radio, the official Gruesome Magazine podcast. Back with me again tonight are the scariest, goriest, bloodiest co-host on the net. And tonight we are reviewing Lovecraft Country, Season 1, Episode 2, called Whitey's on the Moon. Oh, this is going to be fun. And the music oddly fits. But let's find out about the crew first, and then we're diving into this review. So stick with us. We have a fun thing set up. We're going to recap the show. We're going to do spoilers. We're going to do theories. We'll tell you when the spoilers are coming. So if you haven't watched it yet, you can wait. But listen to our recap first. First up is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing good. I'm glad that we're going to talk about this cool series called Slytherin Country. I mean, Lovecraft Country.
This is that episode, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, I kept expecting some of the Slytherin people to show up at some point because we get into some interesting elements that would fit right in the Harry Potter movie.
Yes, they even spell it out for us. All right. Also joining us is woohoo podcasting rockstar and international cosplay queen Vanessa Thompson.
What's up, guys? I can't, all of a sudden I don't remember what we were talking about.
What was going on? You look fantastic, by the way.
Thanks. A little homage to Leti, of course.
Yes, got a little Leti going on. All right. Well, this is going to be fun because Leti is fantastic in this episode.
Fabulous.
Letitia motherfucking
Lewis.
I can't remember her last name for a second.
Oh my God. All right. Also joining us, a special guest host, Christopher Slattery, the Slattman, wearing his Jurassic Park shirt. That's awesome. So
yeah.
Things are getting weird.
They are weird because we're talking Lovecraft Country. So what do I mean when we're talking about Lovecraft Country? Lovecraft Country is the HBO series that is playing. Where episode 2 played tonight. It did not play on August 16th. That's a typo. It was August 23rd. Shame on me. And it's also not called, and this is not even the right one. That's why it's all confusing. Here we go. Episode 2, it's still not called Sundown. It's called Whitey's on the Moon, and still not 16th, it's the 23rd.
I told you we're forgetting things.
Somebody's using magic on you.
Somebody is using witchcraft on me. Maybe some wizardry. I don't know.
Slytherin girl.
Let's just go with the synopsis here. I did get the picture right in the synopsis, but everything else is totally wrong, but that's fine. Inexplicably recovered from their terrifying night, Leti George luxuriate in their new surroundings while Atticus grows suspicious of their Ardham Lodge host. Christina Braithwhite, Abbey Lee, and her elusive father, Samuel. I thought his name was Titus, but maybe it's Samuel. Tony Goodwin, who unveil cryptic plans for Atticus' role in their upcoming Sons of Adam ceremony. Later, after Tick, Leti, and George stumble upon a clue that could lead them to Montrose, each takes an unwelcome walk down memory lane, and that's exactly what happens. Like I said, I'm going to reiterate, we have a really exciting night ahead of us. We're going to talk about the show. We're going to get into some really cool stuff after the break, midway in between. But first up, we need to find out, what did we think of this episode? So let's start off with our special guest host, the Slattman.
It was good. It's really hard to talk about this episode without getting into too many spoilers, because there's so much to talk about that just mind-blowing. But from just a technical standpoint, it continues it continues that great messaging and themes that it was that we saw in the first episode. Although things take a weirder turn with it this time, but still. And the acting all the roles are played fantastically. The cinematography is awesome. And props on the score and soundtrack. It was really well done. This series is still going strong after 2 episodes. I can't wait to see what happens next.
Yeah, I guess it would be fair to say that the show picks up where they left off in episode 1. So small spoilers for episode 1 if you haven't seen that. But after the events of episode 1, they ended up at this elaborate castle house slash estate in Ardham with a D, not a K. And they were invited in. So we wake up the next morning in the intro, and that's what it happens. And all kinds of fun and shenanigans and scary things and unbelievable things happen after that, which we'll get into in the spoilers. But we need to find out what the rest of the crew think. Vanessa, you are up next.
We're moving on up.
Yeah,
oh, man. When that started, I thought that was amazing. Leave it to Jordan Peele, man. He always knows how to work music and feeling together and set a tone. And how distracting was that, right? From what was actually going on until we get back to Atticus, and he brings it back down to reality. Phenomenal episode. I'm on the edge of my seat for the next one, as I'm sure I will be throughout the entire season. I'm just loving it so far. And this one, to me, goes more into the kind of psychological aspects that Lovecraft would delve into, the internal madness of the mind. You see that a lot in this. Our characters are definitely messed with throughout this episode, and in very painful ways. And it really struck me. We learned some things about our characters too when they're going through this. I keep thinking back to Chris mentioning Slytherin now, and I can't get that out of my mind. And if you've seen it, then you'll know what that alludes to. But yeah, I really love it. I'm with the Slattman about the soundtrack. A phenomenal soundtrack. Once again, using audio from the time, or not from that time, but from civil rights moments throughout history, and weaving that into the story makes it so much more poignant and so much more real. And of course, I love my badass Leti, man. She's really holding it down. She's a strong female character, and she's the only one so far that we're really focusing on. And I know that's about to open up to some other characters as we get into these other episodes, but I'm really appreciating having her around.
Yeah, this episode gives new meaning to keep your snake in the pants, but yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I'm not wrong.
No, you're not wrong.
Christopher G. Moore, what is your first thoughts?
Well, other than them running into the Malfoy clan, no, I really enjoy. I think the one main thing about this episode is that this storyline I thought was probably going to last the whole season. Them being in the house, and I mean, I'm not trying to be not spoilery, but it's interesting how this episode plays out. It's like, wow, we're really moving through, and it's definitely one of those things that is not like holding all its cards. It's putting all its cards out there, and having all kinds of crazy stuff happen. Everything from weird Midsommar villages to the Slytherin family to magic to Fantasy Island parts. There's that's a good all kinds of interesting things that they dive right into, to even just like like altar sacrificial type things as well. So there's all kinds of interesting things they delve into, and I'm just loving this because I'm like, wow, we went there, and even to the point of like there was one moment I'm like, oh my god, is this happening? So yeah, I was like mesmerized from beginning to end, and unlike you guys, I didn't watch the full end credits of the first episode, so I didn't even know what to expect. So yeah, I mean, and I just love, and one thing I want to point out is I think everybody's giving the love to J.J. Abrams and Jordan Peele, but Misha Green is one of the main creators of this show. She's also wrote the screenplay for this as well. and I feel like that she needs to be given more credit than anybody else, because Jordan Peele and J. Abrams may give notes and stuff, but she's the main voice behind this. And I think the way they move around subjects, whether it's dealing with racism or history or even including things that, the whole thing at the beginning with the Jeffersons theme, which I thought was hilarious. But they build up these moments and you deal with these characters it's such an interesting story that and to see persons of color as the main characters having to deal with this, because we've seen these type of stories sort of told in the past, but mostly with all white characters. And I think that makes it even more interesting. It also kind of reminds me of the Get Out vibe a little bit too, because you have like this weird sort of group of white people that are doing some weird crap behind the scenes. But yeah, I loved every minute of this, to where, even at the end, it's like, where are we going to go from here? But, and there's a lot of biblical stuff that ties in, which makes me kind of interested to see how much that ties into Lovecraft stuff, everything from, elements of Garden of Eden to Lot, Sodom and Gomorrah to, or just things from, you've seen kind of fantasy type stuff as well. So, but yeah, I loved every minute of this. I think this is one of the few shows that's really keeps me entranced from beginning to end. And in this episode, you have people going from like, different levels of emotion. There's a really interesting conversation they have with this groundskeeper type woman with dogs that, exactly what she's talking about when she's talking about, she's not talking about black bears, she's talking about something else. And it's like, wow. So yeah, I think the way again, another episode where the dialogue works really well. The acting is 100% awesome. And then the story, the way it plays out, and every little thing they threw out, it's like, where are we going next? It's like, it's like, getting constant entrees of delicious stuff. You're like, oh, this is delicious, I'd be happy with this. Oh, there's this other thing came out. So yeah, I can't say enough good things about this. I really love this show.
You thought you got takeout and you got a 7-course meal.
Yeah, and again, I bring it back to my food analogies that I can't seem to stay away from.
All right, I also really love this episode. It may not have been as strong character-wise as the first episode, but as far as really getting the story going, getting into our character relationships, and maybe throwing down some secrets and plots that I think we'll get as the show goes on, it did that work. I should mention that the director is, because I didn't do it on the card correctly, is Daniel Sackheim, who has done a lot of really great TV, from True Detective to The Americans. We lost Vanessa. She'll come back. And Game of Thrones, The Leftovers, if you've seen all that. Really great stuff. And I think he did a fantastic job with this, because there's a lot to kind of grab, and a lot of stuff that could come off a little too much on the fantasy side or a little too silly. And it doesn't, and it comes across really at times frightening and other times sad. And it also has an emotional beat in this that kind of messes with you at the beginning, and then at the end it really kind of kicks you right in the gut. And I'm just going to say that I love all the characters, and George is one of my favorites. I really like George. I just like the way, when he finds all the books and just his, that's his passion. It's all, that's just great literature, right? And and it's just a beautiful thing. And he also finds, some secrets and some clues that help out as the story goes along because of his passion for books. So yeah, great things, great story, great script, great direction, great cinematography, great music, great acting. It's a great show. I
Yeah,
really like
he's the Hermione of the group.
Never mind. Is he?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's just go ahead and give. I want you to compare. We're going to just really quickly compare this episode to the past one. If it, like I just did, right? So I said that I thought this one was better in some areas, but didn't quite get the, didn't quite, do the story. Yeah, well, you know what I said. But anyway, so that's what I'm going to ask you guys to do. I'm stumbling over this, forgive me. So Slattman, give us an idea of the 2 episodes. How is it progressing? Getting better? Getting worse? What's up?
I think it's progressing in the right direction. I can't remember who mentioned it, but someone mentioned that it's not as good from a character development standpoint, and I would argue that it didn't need to, because the first episode did such a good job of establishing these characters that this is really just continuing the story that they were on already. And the if you want to take it that the first episode thing was like an introduction, right? And then after we really get to know these characters, really get comfortable with them, then everything starts just going straight up, like those roller coasters where you go up 90 degrees and then you go down 90 degrees. Yeah, that's what this episode felt like. The first episode was a gradual climb into the crazy, and that's where most of the development happened with the characters. And since you already know these characters, you already feel attached to these characters, they don't need as much development for you to feel things. And I think that's where, if you look at it from a 2-hour long like episode instead of 2-hour long episodes, that's where it really shines. But the development that is there, it does a really good job of hitting the notes that you really need to that it really needs to hit with these characters. You learn just enough about these characters to make those impactful moments really impactful. And you take everything you learn from the first episode and it just kind of snowballs. And then you just take all the crazy, what the hell am I watching moments, and it goes from maybe a 5 to a 10 real fast. And it's just the comparisons are really just more of the same in all the good ways.
All right, well, that sounds good. Chris, is there anything you can add to that, or are we just good? Are we?
I kind of. Well, I mean, any pilot for a show, you're going to have to set up the characters and really show exactly what they're all about, which they did. But I kind of disagree that you act like that they're that we don't really have any when it comes to the characters expanding on that, because I think we have that. We have the moments where it's what I call the mirror of desire. I want to keep making Harry Potter things, the mirror of desire type things, to where you get to see sort of elements of their life that they're dealing with, whether it's a desire for another person, whether it's dealing with their past, a lot of stuff dealing with their past. And then, even between them, or even between George and his brother, and you have those little moments that take place that are very powerful moments, and you get to know a little bit more about those characters, how they're haunted by certain things, either haunted by certain things they've done in their past, haunted by certain things that they can't get over, haunted by past loves, haunted by, past decisions that have affected their future. And I think that to me, that's very interesting to see that, with these characters, because I think it's, when you have a really good pilot that sort of explains stuff, you're not really going to be able to do that fully. And I think putting them in a different atmosphere and having them deal with all these different things, meet characters, and you get to see their strengths and weaknesses come out. And you see that a lot. I'd say a lot more in this episode than the first episode. So I think if anything, you see a little bit more of who they are in this, and, that sort of sets them up what they're going to have to deal with next.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would agree with that. I was thinking more that, we got a lot of extra characters. We got a lot of, the characters that we get here introduced are for this episode for the most part, as opposed to the richness of the characters that we had last episode. And that's kind of where I was going. But yes, individually, we do get some interesting bits about them that I think are solid for where we're going in the future. Welcome back, Vanessa. We missed you. We missed you. Little internet blip. This is the fun of doing things live.
Yeah.
Let's dive into spoilers now, because we really we're all itching to talk about all these crazy things that happen on the episode. So as you can kind of guess, we all really liked it. If you want to stick around, we will give a final thought and a score, favorite scene kind of stuff at the end. But now we're getting to spoilers, and after spoilers is going to directly lead into theories, and there's a lot to theorize on. So let's get into spoilers. Vanessa, welcome back. And where do we start with spoilers?
Start with Christina.
Yeah, let's do it with the reveal that Christina may be a witch.
A wizard, a witch of sorts.
You're a wizard,
Yeah.
Christina.
They literally call them wizards, right?
Yeah, they do. And we get a taste of her in the last episode, right? With her silver Buick, which I mentioned, like that to me was the turning point in that episode to really get into the supernatural or the more Lovecraftian bent to it. When we see it, that magically flipped that other truck without touching the Buick.
Right.
So I think she's going to be a very pivotal character going forward. And I love how her statement, not us white folk hate all you black people. And I think that's important because it shows that she too has been oppressed against for not being born a man. She can never have what her father has or what a son would have had. She's automatically discounted that. Partially with this cult because of how they view Eve, and just societally because she's a woman. She can't live up to that being a man. And she has that interchange with Atticus at one point, you have everything I could never have just because you were born a man. And I think that has shaped her character. That has made her really strong. That has made her, in a sense, independent. I think we're going to see a lot more of that now that her father is not in the picture. Since he got turned into stone, it smashed, which was very rewarding to see. And I kept thinking back. I kept remembering Hannibal as he was passing out his liver or whatever he had taken out of his body to feed everyone. I was like, this is a very Hannibal moment that we're having. Don't do that. No, I'm really liking her. And I found it very interesting. I don't know what other powers or whatever anyone else may possess, but the fact that we only really see it through her, and I'm sure her father too, because she mentions that he would heal or he would do something. So I wonder how that's going to lead to Atticus perhaps discovering these powers that he has, or, a lineage that he has, because there's so many things. So many places I could go. Just thinking that's probably more theory based.
It does sound like a theory there. I didn't even think about that.
No, I think she's really great. We can't really trust her yet, right? We want to trust her, but are her feelings based more on because she's been cut out of so many things, or is it because she really is more of an accepting, open person?
Yeah. Well, I think you get a hint of it when her sarcasm and snarkiness about when she describes Eve.
Mm-hmm.
When they're looking at that one thing you're talking about. Yeah. But she does have a great moment where the cow gives birth to one of those monsters. That was incredibly creepy.
Really great too.
Oh my gosh. All right. Christopher G. Moore. There's got to be some spoilers. The cow thing. What spoilers do you want to dive into, sir?
Well, first of all, the the whole Tony Goldwyn, who played a really great sort of weird father figure. There was a little bit of a Jesus-y moment there too. If we're going to talk about biblical stuff with like, this is my body. Where
oh my God, there was. Well, he was. Spoilers. He's trying to make his way back to the Garden of Eden. So
for that eternal life,
right? For the eternal life. So he doesn't. He might not necessarily need that liver for the future, right?
I guess. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
No.
But that was nice. Very nice. But yeah, it's kind of, I think the main thing is like, other than just seeing the next episode, it's like this whole thing could have been like a whole season, where they're dealing with these crazy, Malfoy family.
Yes.
Their weird blondish hair. Although Christina can use her magic on me any day.
Oh, there you go. There
you
go. Yeah, because I really thought this was going to be like the mystery of the season, and big spoiler is it isn't. It ends.
This could have easily been the end of the season where the house just like implodes and destroyed. It did kind of interesting. It was kind of interesting to see that somehow his what was his grandmom, his grandmother,
his great grandmother
was sort of, there was some kind of connection there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like a time travel thing or if it's just like her and sort of like in Ghost, which is very ironic. I'm saying Ghost, and Tony Goldwyn was in Ghost as well. But this sort of ghost form
was.
Yeah. But yeah, it's, and it's really interesting. I mean, I love the sort of weird Wicker Man village from Midsommar that was kind of weird. And then you have like that whole dungeon thing with the carcasses hanging in there. And then we have the whole like moment sort of like when was it when the guy escapes from prison?
Yes, Count of Monte Cristo.
So there's a lot of stuff.
It does harken back to that.
But yeah, there's like so many great moments where you're like, you think you figured out, oh, we're going here, and it's like, oh, what? But yeah, it is kind of interesting. You have two characters, which are the one guy who's I think he says like, is that your boyfriend? No, he's a boy and he's a friend sometimes, which I'm like, so what exactly is that guy? But both him and her do things that allow them to figure out how to manipulate things to make it go their way. So it's kind of interesting. These people that are supposed to be part of this whole group of Wizards of Waverly Place that are maybe that's not a good, but these wizards or whatever, which I do love the part where he's like, you guys are the KKK. He's like, no, they're poor.
They're too poor for us.
Too poor for us.
Yeah.
So evidently the KKKs are the rednecks of the wizard world.
Yeah. Just as racist, but just
yeah. So they're sort of like the Weasleys of Lovecraft country.
Have you seen Harry Potter? Oh my God.
I'm going to keep making these weird analogies to Harry Potter as I can.
That doesn't work.
We're going to get so much hate.
No, they're not. I'm just kidding. No, they'd be like, if we had like a poor version of the Malfoys, let's say that. I like the Weasleys. They're cool. But yeah,
Weasleys. We love Weasleys.
Yeah. I'm a big Harry Potter fan, so but I'm also Slytherin. So, it's kind of interesting, just all the different things from the opening the wall, which you have like the hidden thing, and then you have the what I call the Fantasy Island moment, where all of them see these different types of things in their lives, whether it's her having to deal with her own demons growing up and stuff, but at the same time her having this affection to as Atticus, I think his name is, and then the George character, his past, affair with his mom, and then you have
Yes, that's important to say. Is that it's Dora is his mother, right? It's Atticus' mother.
That he
Yeah,
saw
yeah.
Dora
And
instead
then
of
also you
Hippolyta.
have, Atticus and him dealing with this whole situation that we really don't know enough about, but we keep peeling those layers away. Like, when he was in the I think the Korean War or whatever, and then I guess he possibly had to kill someone, or he has some woman over there. So there's all these things that we're going to start revealing more and more about as we go along, which is very intriguing, because you're not like, even though we feel like, wow, this whole storyline we've already knocked out. Now we're going to go somewhere else. But there's also other things that we don't know about these characters that will reveal more and more. And you also have the moment where him and his brother sort of like deal with things. So I don't know. I really love the characters and the storyline to this. And I think in a lesser creator probably would have made the whole storyline involved with that house, but now we're just going somewhere else where we also have to deal with the racism outside of that again.
Well, it's very Lovecraftian. It's very on theme to have our characters experience something in a place and then that follow them. It goes with them through their lives and where they go. And I think that's kind of what's happening in this situation. What's been opened up at Ardham is now going to continue on with them and how they're going to handle it and how it's going to affect them.
Yeah, it's not going to stop there. All right, one more spoiler. Chris Slattery, I mentioned I love George. Did George really die? George died?
I'm not convinced.
It was a powerful moment, though. I mean,
it was, and it was, again, going back to the acting, it was incredibly well acted, and it tugged at the heartstrings. I'm not gonna lie, I missed it up a little. There might have been a tear. Like, George was a great character, and but knowing that Christina is, they did not show her die.
Well, she couldn't be. She wasn't allowed to be there. So,
well, she wasn't allowed to be there, but she probably was allowed to be in the house somewhere.
Sure.
Considering it's her family's house, I'm assuming. Yeah.
I'm sure she knew that was going to happen.
Well, she hinted at things when she had her conversation. I think she hinted at things to give him an idea that
it wouldn't work. Yeah.
That he'd have more power than what he thinks he has.
But I'm not convinced that George is gone. I know,
that's what I'm thinking too.
I'm hoping that he's brought back somehow, and because he's such a great character, and the relationship he has with both Tick and with Leti, it's just I love that dynamic that he has with them, and it's great.
Yes, and his wife and daughter too.
Yeah,
such great moments, and I loved him, and I thought that Jonathan Majors, who plays Tick, he just nailed it. It was a terrific performance throughout the episode, but especially on those last moments, man, you just felt it. It was, it is, it's just really hard to kind of get that type of emotion across, because he has no idea about some of the things they're going to theorize, which are maybe not be much of a theory. I think they may have blatantly told us, but we'll talk about it. He's just devastated, and oh man, so much power to it. But I guess that's a good transition into theories. Is it pretty obvious? Is it pretty obvious that Tick is actually George's son? Is that what they're saying?
I think so. I think they're at least strongly hinting that. I guess between the two men, there's still some uncertainty, but it would seem that he's more like George than he is like his father. Yeah. Now, I cried many tears at the end of the episode.
I mean, it could be just a red herring, right? It could be something to distract us, because it doesn't sound like either of them really knew. But yet, if they're talking about it, they probably did.
Maybe, but I think the fact that he saw Dora, and then she mentioned something about you'll be able to fly with your children. You can fly with your children here. I think that that is going to come around and unfold a little bit more to that particular statement.
Yeah, because I didn't make the connection of who she was at first until Montrose and him were talking on the bed, and I was like, oh, no, like, you know, it's like soap opera moment. All right, let's go with your very interesting, and I didn't think of it, theory about maybe Tick has more powers than we know. Is that where we're going?
Well, and I think that you see the start of that when the building starts to implode, right? When everything stops and he kind of takes the power back. That's kind of how I saw it, right?
Okay.
I can't remember her name, the blonde's name, Christina.
Christina
says to him something about take your power, use your power or something. And he looks at that ring and it's starting to change. And he sees he sees his great-great-grandmother pregnant there as the vision. And I think that's a moment where he kind of takes the power and, you know, stops whatever's happening, whether he's aware of it or not. But that would allude to if Braithwhite if these descendants have power, then why would he not? You know, he was just never made aware of it, never shown that he had that kind of power. Then he wouldn't know how to use it or that it was there. But I think that we're going to see more of that. I think it's going to unfold, especially through some of the women in his history, because if you think back about the kind of teaser they gave us last year, you do see some of that happening, and you see it with Hippolyta too, right? She's going to have a presence in this that it's going to be much stronger than we think, or not than we think, but than we know right now. I'm really excited to kind of see how that's going to play out, how he's really going to, I don't know, perhaps transcend, walk the line between the immortal or the cosmic and what's actually happening.
Absolutely. Let's dive into Christina there, Christopher G. Moore. You seem to, obviously behind your shoulder, she's waiting for you. What's her? You got any theories about her? Under the gun.
You mean fan fiction wise? No. I don't know. I think that I don't know. She seems like she has more than just a minor interest in Atticus.
Mm-hmm.
I think she wants to be his Eve. You know what I mean? She wants to be. Well, I don't want to. They use the word kind. How their
he was
their great grandfather was kind, which is basically he had sex with.
He raped them.
He raped his slaves or whatever. No, I think that she's going to play some kind of. I think she has some probably end game to everything. Yeah,
ulterior motive.
Yeah, I think she's definitely very self-centered. I think she feels very left out, and I think she's manipulating stuff behind the scenes. And I think that the whole conversation she has with Atticus was a primer for getting him to realize that he has more power than what he thinks he has because he has that bloodline. So I think that she's going to play later to where she's going to sort of somehow want to figure out a way to manipulate his power to her advantage. How that's going to happen, I don't know. I mean, I think the only thing I worry about, I hope this isn't some kind of like Dallas season ender where we find out it's all a dream.
Oh, no.
And that maybe that they put them in some kind of dreamscape and they're trying to get him to think a certain way and they pull him out of it and it's all but a dream. I hope that's not the case because I'll be really pissed. I don't want it to be one of those sort of like usual suspects where you made up a whole thing because sometimes they'll, sort of like how Freddy would manipulate you in the dream world to get you a certain way, thinking a certain way. So I hope that's not the thing. But yeah, I think that she's very manipulative. I think she'll definitely play into stuff later. However, that'll happen. And plus we don't even know her friend boy or whatever.
What is William?
So we don't know that he died either. I don't know if he was one of those people, but I'm assuming he wasn't there either. So I think he might play into it as well. I think her saying her friend is probably just her BF or BFF or or what is it, friends with benefits type.
Right?
thing.
Benefits. That might be-
Or they could be related.
Her
What if
Malfoy with
they're-
benefits.
What if they're the same person?
Oh God.
Stop. Oh my God, that's a crazy theory.
Well, you know what?
No.
Did we see them
Did
together?
we see him in the same room?
I want to watch it again now. Dude.
I don't know.
Dude.
I can't remember.
Oh,
Well, they have the.
oh man, you've
I
been
don't think I ever-
sandbagging that one, you booger. What else you got? What else you got?
That's a good point.
It is
Mhm.
So one of my thoughts
That's-
was one that Christopher just brought up, and I'm a little worried that it might be that this is all a dream, or like everything after the the gunshots. I'm worried that everything after that is just like them imprinting things into Atticus's mind.
So you think he's gonna wake up and the castle's still there and nothing's happened yet? And
Yeah, I'm a little worried but it's a theory, but I would probably put it on a very small possibility at this point, because Vanessa said, it's very, very Lovecraftian to have a bunch of shit happen and then the last 80% of the story is just the person dealing with the crazy crap that they had to deal with.
yeah.
And
Well,
it's all culminate and it all ends with them going insane.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's that story that he George recounts to Dora about finding his lost love. He goes through all this crap, finds his lost love, and they get to live forever together because the house falls in on them. The house falls in on them. That's what he said, right? About the story. Do we know what that story is?
Did he say it? Is that what he said?
I thought he did.
Because I thought he said something about eternal sleep or something, but I don't know. I have to go back. There are houses that do fall in on themselves in Lovecraft stories.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yeah.
and buries secrets.
I think there was. I'm going to have to watch this again because I want to find out if the two characters were ever in the same shot, and I want to find out if there was illusion there with that story and what that story is.
Mhm.
I don't know enough about the Lovecraft library, or it could be one of the others because they mentioned a lot of different authors. We get Bram Stoker. We get all kinds. Even just all over the place. So let's wrap this up. We've gone extra long. So let's just give a score. Is this where I want to go 1 to 5 on these? She's going straight back. And let's just straight up do it. Vanessa, you're up first.
Oh yeah, all the way, all the points.
Yep.
So I'm sure for the rest of the season.
Oh yeah, so this is solid. There's
yeah,
great new TV, right?
absolutely. Yeah, this is how it should be done.
Is this your favorite new show?
Yeah, it's setting the mark so high just for television in general. But HBO does that. That's you expect that from HBO. So yeah, I'm loving it still. Two things one thing before I get to my favorite scene. When she bursts that animal, that creature.
Yes.
It had little gills.
Did it?
Y'all notice that?
I did not notice the gills.
I did not notice that on the adult versions. I'm assuming it's the same creature.
They use the gills to expel the dirt so it can bury into the ground.
Yeah, he has little gills. Well, it's very Dagon, very cult of Dagon.
Well,
I
read about the creation of the creatures that they wanted to figure out, if this creatures could bury into the ground, how would they do that? And so they created the gills. So actually in that first episode, there's a scene where when they eat one of the people, the blood comes out the gills.
Nice. Very nice.
All right.
Yeah. So they're just in that they're weaving other Lovecraftian concepts in. my favorite scene is absolutely the Whitey on the moon scene.
Oh, nice.
Primarily because of that radio play that's happening over what's happening in the scene where they've forced Atticus to become this conduit to the Garden of Eden. And I find it very interesting that upon opening the gate to the Garden of Eden, it is his great-great-great-grandmother. You know, what is that? Pregnant. What does that say about the birth of life, right? And what that the Garden of Eden is.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was absolutely my favorite scene. So extremely poignant. The subject matter of that story, or of that spoken word, is so important, and I'm really appreciating. And I'm glad that you said, Chris, to give Misha Green more of the credit for that, because honestly, you know, she's working that into these stories. Like you said, I'm sure Jordan Peele and J.J. Abrams have their say, but she's really the one working these extremely important historical moments into this fictionalized story that every time just really hits me. It really affects me, and it really drives home the reality of people in that time, and having to, as I was saying, as I was postulating before, claim your power.
Claim your power. Yes, and that seems to be what's happening here. All right, Christopher G. Moore, score, favorite scene?
Well, I'm like Vanessa. This gets another 5 from me. I can't really, you know, I think this is one of the best shows on television right now. And I think a lot of it has to do with just like how all the elements come together to create a great show. And that's casting really great actors, you know, writing a great story that's interesting and delves in so many different areas, from the fantastical to our racist past. I mean, this is sort of doing the same thing that Watchmen did, with bringing up certain things about our history and culture in America that hasn't really been delved into. You know, that first episode was about sundown. Now a lot of people know about sundown, like in the same way that Watchmen did the whole thing about like the destroying of, I think it was Black Wall Street or whatever. And this is doing the same thing. I mean, this episode, I mean, it's interesting how you can have, you know, 1 minute you can have the song from the Jeffersons, you know, in a very light moment. And another moment you have this fantastical thing where this guy's being sacrificed, you know, and at the same time they use like a spoken word poem from 1970 by Gil Scott Heron about, you know, how the you know, how like the space program, you know, they spent all this money on the space program to the detriment of marginalized people, like people of color, you know, who are in poverty. They spent all this money to go someplace, you know, fantastical, in the same way that this is happening. So I love the correlations, and I love how they work those type of things that normally wouldn't go together, but they do in this, you know? Yeah, I mean, and, you know, you know, and I mean, even stuff that's literal. I mean, you know, when you see that stained glass thing of the guy with the snake penis, and you're like, oh, great, I'm going to see a snake penis. And it happens. So, you know, and again, this is like, you know, I make fun of the analogy to Harry Potter stuff, but this is a more grown up Harry Potter type fantasy type scenario that has a little bit more meat to it. So yeah, I think this is another grade A episode that really keeps you guessing as to what's going to happen next. You know, I mean, there's moments that kind of made me shock. Oh my God, is this person dead or not? You know, I mean, and you sort of question that, you know, and you know, and then you have weird moments like the birth of the little slug baby, which the whole time I'm like, she's just ruined that top. I don't know why I was.
She can buy a new one.
I was like, she's got this silk top on. I was like, you just delivered you got this afterbirth on that silk top. You're not going to be able to wash that out. But I figured she's rich. She probably just throws away stuff every day anyhow.
Or uses magic.
Yeah, that was the only thing that I had against her character. But yeah, I really love this episode. As for favorite scene, that's a tough one. I will say, I mean, I guess it's probably all in combination, but I would say the mirror of Isred or mirror of desire type thing, the thing where they have the Fantasy Island moment with all the characters, where they have these, spell magic moments that are trying to bring up things in their past that they're having to deal with. So I think that's, even though that had all happened at the same time, so I consider that to be one scene. But that's the thing that really stood out from this episode, at least for me, which includes the snake penis.
The snake penis. All right. Oh man. All right, Chris Slattman, you're up next. Give us your score and your favorite scene, sir.
So this might be controversial, but I'm gonna give it a 4.5.
Ooh.
My reasoning behind it is I thought the first episode was a little bit better, and I would have given that one a 5. So this one, but depending on how the story goes and how many important things are set up in this episode, it could easily change. My favorite scene is probably the scene where George and Atticus are at that black tie only event, and George and Atticus just like mic drop the knowledge on all of these guys, and then Atticus is just like, please get out.
Mm-hmm.
That's an order. That whole like scene was like amazingly well done, and you could going back to the race thing, you could tell that everybody in that room did not like it, but it was such a win.
Yeah. Yep. I'm going to kind of side with Slattman here. Not as much. I'm going to go 4.75. I really did like this. I mean, come on, it's almost a 5, right? But last episode was a 5, and I think this was slightly less, but it's still better than everything else on TV right now. I really love this. My favorite scene, just to dive straight into it. Oh my gosh, there's kind of so many. I really loved the opening. I just had so much fun with our characters, and George finds his books and he's doing the little dance, right, and Letty's trying all our clothes, right, and they all fit, and then you get to Atticus Tick, and he's brooding.
I knew it. He wasn't going to be dancing around.
No, it's like, come on.
Yeah.
But what I liked is that they didn't remember, right? It led to that, and which is I'm going to go with a second scene because this leads into the second scene, right? So they don't remember it all, so that's why they're happy, and he's brooding. And they have another encounter, and then immediately they don't remember, and he's like, "Oh, it happened again, isn't it?" And he asks for, Christina, I want them to remember. And then she goes, "Done." And as soon as she says done, you hear them both screaming. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. That was just so powerful, right? It's like, oh my God, what do you do? You just remember it all. And how frightening would that be to have all those memories rush back? And where, we don't get to experience that. We just hear him. We get to experience it through these two characters. And I thought that was really well done.
And that's very similar to how the old ones and the great ones and all of that in Lovecraft stories make people go insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So there's
very similar.
I'm trying to do some research while you guys are talking, and I'm doing a terrible job. I've come up with 2 house stories that may be the one he references, but I have a feeling it's not even a Lovecraft story. But there's like the Shun House and the House of Borderland. I'm going to find out if I even anywhere near close throughout the week, and hopefully we'll see how far off I was next week. Because there's somebody out there.
Send it to you.
You know what it is?
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but I know the story.
Okay, because I know there's people out there that are yelling at me, going, "No, you're a fool," and I am, but I'm trying. All right, there you go. That's our.
You were just thrown off by the man butt in the episode.
Oh well.
Weren't we all?
The only nudity so far has been a man butt.
Are you going to do that? You going to squish the man butt?
When Christina went and sat there, I was like, "Oh,
Yeah, she was- I was like,
that
uh-oh.
POV."
You were waiting.
She was just so nonchalant about it.
You guys turned this south so fast on a dime. That's wonderful. All right, there's our review of Lovecraft Country, episode 2, Whitey's on the Moon. It was a great show. I'm so glad we picked this to do, and it's we have 8 more episodes left. This is going to be 2 months of great TV. So join us for this. If you like what you're saying, please subscribe below. Hit the like button. Hit the bell so you'll be notified. Leave us some message below. Yeah. Tell me what the book is.
Let us know what your thoughts are. Like, where do you think it's going? You know, what are your weird?
There's a
thoughts
lot of severely confused people out there that don't feel like this feels like Lovecraft at all, and that it's a desecration of his work. And I want to hear from all you losers out there. I want to hear what you have to say so I can tell you how wrong you are and how narrow your view of Lovecraftian work actually is.
Oh wow!
Those Cthulhu losers.
Losers.
Wow, that door just got opened. Oh, Pandora's box. Boom. Oh my gosh. But yeah, if you have some wild theories, let us know. All right. Slattman, Christopher G. Moore, Vanessa, thank you. Thank you for joining me. This was a great discussion.
Always fun.
I love talking about the Slytherin clan.
I'm gonna start calling Chris Catman instead of Slattman.
Oh, yeah, because those who are not watching, the cat is on his lap.
Yes, so cute.
What's the cat's name?
Kiki.
Kiki. All right,
She
Kiki,
always delivers.
let's say goodnight.
Good
Good night.